and we are going through a series right now called The Real Entrepreneur. And what I'm doing for you guys, for all my listeners, or if you're watching this on YouTube, is I'm bringing real estate entrepreneurs that I love and respect to the table so you can hear their story. And the goal is to catch their backstory so you can relate to where you're at in your business, and you can come up with actionable steps. Say, okay, wow. I mean, if they went through that, or if they did that, like, oh, what are my possibilities? And so hopefully you're inspired by their stories, and everything that we talk about relates to what I call the sales acceleration blueprint. So sometimes I sound like a broken record, but you'll hear me say this over and over again, is you have two choices. You can go out and you can try to build a business like a pioneer does, where they have no proven system or process, and you're going out there and you're just trying to figure out the landscape of things. And here's what I'd share with you. It's a strategy that can do, and you can be successful, but most true pioneers end up dead. Okay. And not remembered. Okay. That's because they're going out and they're trying to invent something that has never, or do something that's never been done before, right? They're pioneering something. Real estate's not that way, folks. You don't have to be the pioneer. You can actually plug into a blueprint. And what I learned the hard way is figuring out what that blueprint should look like. And so our sales acceleration blueprint is pretty simple. It starts off with your database and making sure that you're managing your database, your most precious asset, your database, and then growing it through lead generation, and then making sure you have the right follow-up systems to nurture your database and nurture the leads that you're purchasing, and then making sure that you're stepping into digital marketing and social media, and you're actually using modern day strategies like social media and video marketing to increase your lead conversion, which then leads to your own skills, your skill set with lead conversion. How well are you doing in influencing people to work with you? And then rolling into the client experience to make sure you're providing an unbelievable client experience, and then having systems in place so when you start growing a team, you can attract and equip agents to do the same thing that you did yourself with all those other steps. Okay, so that's the blueprint if this is your first time tuning into the podcast. And today I actually have Chrissy Young with me. And Chrissy, when I hear the word client experience, I think of Chrissy because she just takes so much pride in her client experience and making sure her clients are taken care of. And that's why she's been able to build a dynamic business and just absolutely crushing it in real estate, growing a team. And Chrissy, I'm excited to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. So
awesome. So Chrissy, I want to hear your backstory and why you decided to get involved in real estate.
My backstory, I went to college in advertising and marketing. I actually got a scholarship in advertising and marketing. It was one of my proud little moments. When it was on my 18th birthday, I got a scholarship. It was kind of a cool moment for me. And I cool. got all my tuition paid and got to go to school. And I was like, I really like business. Like after getting that, it was pretty exciting for me. Studying marketing, advertising and business entrepreneurship. And then when I graduated, I went to work for Franklin Covey, which a lot of people know, time management softwares. And I sold time management seminars across the country. And I mainly focused on the central United States, and loved that and built a huge, I was able to I was in presidency club, and I got to build my own department a certain way because of some of the ideas that I had. And it was just really fun to do that. And then I had my first baby. And I decided to stay home and be a stay-at-home mom for 15 years. So while I was a stay-at-home mom, I don't really have the same type of hobbies a lot of moms do. And so I then started a little marketing company that was, it's just for it was a website in my area, and I was an influencer, and I developed activities and different things to do in the community to bring communities together, and did marketing and advertising through that in just my community, and created events and different things like that. And then my husband started to have I was a stay-at-home mom for 15 years, and my husband started having some major health issues. And we just decided it would be best for our family if I went back to work. And so the Bloggers Network hired me right up, and they were like, they're the sister companies for Six Sister Stuff. And I helped influencers. We would go to like Fortune 500 companies and we'd say, hey, you want to be represented by an influencer, that type of thing. And I just jumped right back into the working world, and I met my broker, and he's like, hey, somebody had said that he should use influencers to advertise his business. And he talked to me and he's like, hey, I don't think I want to do that, but can I hire you? And I'm like, well, for the right price. And then he gave me a price I couldn't refuse. And I started doing marketing and advertising for his company. And as I was doing marketing and advertising for his company, I was killing it and bringing in tons of leads for the business. And I saw very quickly how much money everybody was making off of the leads that I was generating. And I went, I think I'm going to get my real estate license. So I went and got my real estate license, and our top sales manager in our company like latched on to me and said, hey, let me mentor you, let me help you. And that's now who my business partner is, Darren Kidd. And we've been working together as a team for 6 years. And we roughly do 100. I think our best year was 120 deals in a year, just the two of us. So we're on target for 100 deals this year, and it's been a fun journey.
You have a really, your average price point's around 400, if I remember, right?
We're more like 500 now. It just
500. Keeps going up. Yeah. So doing that with a small team is incredible. Nice work. Cool. So, and I guess like looking back on that, one of the questions that I want to ask you, like with your story, is like, walk me through a little bit about the first year in real estate.
The first year where I didn't eat or sleep or see my family, and I was scared to death. Well, here's the thing. So like I said, my husband had major health issues, and we had a lot of medical bills. And so I was making good money from the brokerage, but we were actually going in deeper debt than we were making, because we were living off one income. I had 3 small children, and my husband, and actually my sister had come to live with us as well. And I was providing for everybody. And and my broker was just like, and I totally get it. You're either doing marketing and advertising for me, or you're going straight commission, and you're going to be, and I get that. And he was so supportive of me, but it's just how it needed to be. And I'm grateful for that, because it pushed me to new levels, but it was sink or swim. So my husband and I went and took out a home equity line of credit on our house for $40,000. And I thought, okay, sink or swim. I've got to do this. And we were already in debt. So I just jumped off. So I had that little marketing company I was telling you about. That's the mommy business. And my partner in that, she saw me drowning right from the beginning, like that I just dropped into the deep end. And she said, you know what? I want to help you. Can I be your assistant? And then she would sit down with me, and we would calendar every single person we knew between the two of us. And we would, and she gave me every contact she had to. And then I called people all day long, and I just sat there and did the tick sheet, right? Tick, 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 got a call, tick, 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 got an appointment, tick, tick, tick. And spent hours and hours just calling people. And it was really simple. I would just call and say, hey, Isaiah, this is Chrissy Young. And Whitney is one of my very best friends. And we do Macaroni Kid together. I'm sure you're aware of that.
Yep.
Anyhow, I started doing real estate. And I'm just wondering, are you interested at all in buying or selling a home? No, is there anybody because Whitney, I would do a great job. I would be happy to help you. And I literally would just have that conversation day in and day out and talk to everybody. And I was networking everybody. My financial advisor, I went to him, and he was awesome. In fact, he gave me my first listing lead, which was like $1 million.
It's awesome.
And I'd been in the business for about a whole 4 weeks. So I was like, I know how to market, but I don't know what I'm going to do with this guy. So I went to Darren, who's my business partner, and I said, hey, dude, if you'll come with me to this appointment, we'll just split the deal. And he's like, okay. And so we went, and it was good because there was so much about real estate I didn't know. Yeah. And he just came in all good, talked to him. But then the guy said to me, well, how are you going to advertise this? What are you going to do different than just put it on the MLS? And I was like, oh, I can talk to that. I know that. And so then I jumped in and I said, I know exactly who's going to buy this house. I know the demographics. I know how to get to them. This is what we're going to do. And we double-sided that deal. I sold it to my kid's dentist.
That's great. You did know who was going to buy it.
I did.
They're in your sphere. I love it.
Yeah.
That's great. So that was kind of like the pivotal point, right?
Yeah.
And you found a strategy, and it sounds like you stuck to that, and you started building your own base from there, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So in times that you and kind of we're going back because we're in a changing market, and yeah. I think I relate to a changing market to somebody's first year in real estate. Because it requires us to do things that we're not comfortable doing, right? Always, and the retooling and the looking at different strategies. And so for the people, for all of us having to look at our opportunities, we have to make sure that we have that mindset that real estate is never going to stay the same. It's always going to change. So given the fact we're kind of going through that right now, what got you through your first year?
What got me through my first year, it was of course, I already mentioned Whitney coming and jumping on and being moral support. Having a good support system, somebody to help me out, really helped a lot. Because she kept me on target, and she made sure I was fed, and she shared her contact list. There was a lot of good things. The other thing that pushed me through that first year was honestly my family. Like I knew it was all on me. Like my husband was not able to work. I had to do it. And I'll tell you, that first year, I ended up closing 12 deals on my own in that first year. And we didn't sink. We treaded water, and we kept above. And the second year, I remember the month too. It was July. It was really right on my second year mark. And I remember having all these deals that were in the process of being done, but also transferring the very last of my money on a credit card that I had credit of into my bank account to cover my house payment. And I literally hit a point where everything I owned was on credit, and I was maxed out on all my credit, over $75,000 debt. And I was like, well, this is the moment. And I transferred. I was like, I'm going to be okay though, because these deals are going to come through and they're going to close. And sure enough, that was the moment when everything pivoted. And I now all my debt's paid off. I have 6 figures in my bank account in savings. I'm investing, and I've almost recouped to the point where I'm going to be able to retire at a decent age. And I never would have thought I could have done that. And that's just 5 years later. But that first year, what saved me was going back and creating systems. That's really what it was. And I know you speak about that a lot. I had a religious system every single day of like, get up and I make my phone calls, and I knew my conversion rate. 15 phone calls got me an appointment. And I did that. And I was calling FSBOs. I didn't love calling FSBOs. I'm not going to lie. I didn't love it. People would yell and scream at me, but I'd always just be really kind to them and just keep pushing. So every day making phone calls, call, conversion, call, get another appointment and doing that. And so the other big thing I did was working that sphere of influence. And I did it from a place like you just talked about, that client care or loving. I love people. Yeah. And so I just started with my A-list. I went in my phone, pulled up all my contacts, and I literally started going down every single person on my list and said, hey, Allie, this is Chrissy. And I haven't talked to you in like 7 years. And I have set a goal this year to reconnect with people I really love and care about. And I'm just wondering, how are you doing? And then I listen for a minute and how they're doing. And without a fail, they go, what are you up to? Oh, I'm so glad you asked what I'm up to. Yeah. I'm selling real estate. Dylan's been having health issues. I went back to work. It's been amazing. And the reason I bring up Allie, because she was one in my A's, but two, she goes, oh, I just got qualified to buy a house. Maybe you could take me to look at houses. And I'm like, is this really happening? Is it this easy? You know?
Yeah.
And so it was the consistency. I never, ever didn't make my phone calls every day that first year.
That's powerful. And I think that if you, in a market shift, discipline and consistency is more important than ever before, because sometimes you got to get back to the basics. Some of you listening, maybe it was business a little bit too easy. Some of you are just maybe this is your opportunity to reset, whatever it is. I think that's a really important message, is going back to the basics and making sure that whatever your form of outreach is, that you make sure that you turn it into a consistent part of your sales and marketing plan. We just talked about this in our last session, right?
Yeah.
And it's not rocket science why we struggle. It's usually because we got away from the basics, right? And if somebody's consistent enough and they are going after the right niches, it doesn't really you're always going to end up on top. You're always going to end up ahead if you have that. And so I think your story is a great example of that. It's a great example of that. Kind of a different question. What do you think? What do you think your people most misunderstand you for or misunderstood you about, or most throughout your process of doing real estate?
How did they most misunderstand me?
Yeah, like if people were to look at you and like, how do you feel most misunderstood?
Ooh, that's a good question, and kind of like, wow, go deep for me right there, Isaiah.
We're going deep.
Yeah. You make me pull out some.
I got another question while you're thinking about that. What would you say your biggest failure was, and what did you learn from it throughout your 5 years here?
Okay, I would say, and I think they kind of relate to each other, obviously, but I think my biggest failure is boundaries. I think not creating proper boundaries has been my biggest failure. I was talking to my cousin last week, and he said to me, this is so, like, I've been chewing on it for a week now, Isaiah, but he said, often our greatest weaknesses come from our strengths overused.
I hope you heard that, folks. That is so powerful. I'm going to turn that into a quote, and I'm going to copy. I'm going to make sure you get credit for it, because it's so true.
It came from my cousin, but I'll just take credit.
That's all right. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So when he said that he said our strength, our weaknesses, our strengths being overused. I really feel like that's my biggest failure. I let me back up to that. I feel like my superpower is I love people, and then I try to keep myself super flexible to people.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
if somebody needs something, they call me, and it always makes me happy because I love to help them. And I'm so grateful. And I've had some of the most wonderful, powerful experiences in my life because of that flexibility and that love for people and being there for them. But then taking what my cousin said about our strengths, that's my superpower, being overused, not having proper boundaries has been my biggest failure. Because what has happened is if I try to be flexible for too many people and I'm trying to help all my clients, and yes, I'll do this, and yes, I'll do that, then what happens? I don't spend time with my family. I don't connect. I'm not sleeping properly. I'm not eating properly. My body gains, like, in that first 2 years of real estate, I gained almost 100 pounds.
I can relate to you in that.
Yeah.
Same thing happened to me. I gained a ton of weight because I just was not paying attention, and same thing, boundaries and balance, right? And trying to work it all out. So yeah, that's really, really powerful wisdom. I think there's in scenarios where our backs up against the wall, sometimes I think there's a false belief that if we don't focus 100% of our effort and have that flexibility or do whatever we have to do and have those boundaries, there's this little devil in the back of our mind saying that it's not going to work out, and it's completely false. It's completely false. And that's kind of what happened, with anybody who's really striving to make something happen. That's what I found is the balance and the counterbalance to that. Like you said, that superpower of being able to just hyper focus and go, versus like, okay, wait, I still got to make sure that I'm going to be healthy over the long term. I still got to make sure I'm, this is extreme, but not divorced, and like all these things that kind of come with it. And so, I think it's really, really great wisdom for everybody listening. And some of you've had success and you're doing really well right now. Maybe this is a gut check for you listening to this. I know I've been through that. COVID kind of helped me help me assess, what my priorities were. And I love what Steve Jobs said. He, in his dying days, he was giving an interview and he said, look, nobody cares if I wear a $30 watch or a $300 watch. He had billions, and his net worth was billions of dollars. And he kind of, in a roundabout way, said that one of his biggest failures is he got so hyper focused on success that he didn't focus on his health. And he kind of said, if I would have treated, one of the things he said, if I would have treated, he goes, you either have to use food or see food as your fuel to keep you healthy, or you're going to have a situation where you're going to be forced later on to do things, and I'm totally botching this, but it's like something about you're going to be forced to take meds that you don't want to take. He said it so much better. I'm going to actually put the quote in the comments, but it really hit me how he said it, because this is coming from a billionaire, right? And he only lived to be 56 years old. So I think that's super important to think about. Next question for you. This is totally unrelated to real estate or anything, but maybe it is. It's kind of a fun question. If you had $10 million dropped in your lap tomorrow, what would you do with it?
Oh my gosh. Well, this comes at an interesting time for me because of certain politics that are going on, and my childhood and my backstory, which I won't bore you all with. I have been thinking a lot about the unwanted child. And I was thinking, how can I make a difference in the world? And this is something that has been just like really empowering me. I think I really, really feel passionately about, like, there's 3 points, but like making sure children are properly cared for, that they have food to eat, and that they have opportunities in their life, that they can continue to grow and have opportunities. And so there's some charities that I've been looking at. And so I think I actually would take it and donate to charities and get more involved actively that way and give back, because I'm a product of good people who took me in and took good care of me. And that makes me emotional looking at it. But and I want to make a difference that way for people. It meant a lot for me. So I know it's probably not as flashy as you would think, but that's just something I've been this last couple of weeks just really actually has helped me want to drive harder at my business. So because now because Isaiah, you challenged me to have a dream and vision what I want and make it big. And I have really taken that to heart and went really deep with it. And I'm like, I know what my purpose is. I know what I want to do. And I'm going to make a ton of money so I can donate to these certain charities and make a difference. So
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I do talk about that, right? We talk about, I think you just kind of identified something that's maybe not the whole why, but a huge, like, what is your why? Why are you doing what you're doing? And sometimes if we don't dream big, we're never going to reach our full potential and be able to impact the world how we want to. And I think that's I love hearing that. I think that's really, really awesome. And so that's why I like asking that question, because everyone's got a really different answer, which usually feeds into the why they're doing what they're doing, right?
Yeah. Yep. Well, and it's big too, because you have taught me to dream and be big. And I've noticed I limit myself. I think, I can't do that. I can't do that. And so, but I'm learning to get comfortable with it, to like really visualize, like you've taught me to do, like visualize, think about it. Really, what does that look like? And I'm trying to get comfortable. Like I say to myself every morning, I'm going to make sure nobody in my county goes hungry. Like no child goes hungry in my county. That's my goal. Like that's what I'm working for. So no child is going to be hungry in my county. That's that. Maybe I can dream bigger, but I'm going to start with that.
No, that's huge. Are you kidding me? That's so awesome. That's so awesome. That's great. A little bit going back to business, related to business. I think that I'd like to talk about maybe some of the myths when it comes to like being successful in real estate. What do you think some of the common myths about your job or your field of expertise, like when somebody gets involved or growing, like what are some of the common, misconceptions that are out there?
I have one right now that I just closed a deal yesterday, and just right at the end, a couple of things happened. And it got really hairy, and I just jumped in and did what I do and saved the day and everything. And my client actually invited me to come over after the closing to his house, and we sat down and we talked for a while. And he said, Chrissy, I thought, man, they want a lot of money for just putting my name on the MLS, and and then maybe marketing a little bit, putting out a few flyers and sitting at my house, and they want all this money for that. And he's like, tell me the truth. Tell me the truth. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the worst and 1 being the best, like how bad was my deal? Because he felt like this little thing that happened was like the worst thing ever. And I'm like, you're a 2. And he's like, a 2, and I was like, yeah, a 2. And he was like, I can't believe everything you do. He's like, you're a therapist. You're, you do, you're my therapist. You have to be the friend. You have to be you have to be what is that? A negotiator. You have to do all of these things. You're a problem solver. He's like, I don't know how you do everything you do. But that misconception of, why should I give you that much money? What are you really going to do for me? And then he doesn't even realize the extent of the marketing we do too. Like, so yeah.
That's good. Yeah. I think, one of my Beatty Carmichael, who's one of my colleagues in the marketing world, talks about the biggest challenge that we have is is the outside perception versus the inside reality. And he talks about that a lot, and that's our biggest challenge and our responsibility as marketers and as business owners, is to take the inside reality of what we do and making sure that, even though it seems simple to us, that we do a really good job of marketing that, so that way their outside perception matches the inside reality. And the better job we get at doing that, the more unique it makes us, and also the better expectations as they come down the client journey. And so I'm glad you brought that up. It's a major point to make yourself different in the marketplace too.
Yeah.
Is keeping that conversation at the forefront of our clients' minds and figuring out a way to market to that. One of the things that I train on a lot is, a lot of people don't do business with you because they don't know what to expect or what makes you different. And so if you just lay that out in a really clear manner, most people aren't doing that, right? And if you show them the client, kind of how your client journey works, and you can actually use that as part of your close, because they don't know what's going to happen after they sign with you. So sometimes they're not signing with you because they just don't know the inside reality. And sometimes they're negotiating against the commissions because they don't know the inside reality, right?
Yeah.
Like all these things. And so the better job we do that, laying that out in our marketing plan, laying that out in our listing presentation, laying that out in our process, usually overall, they're going to have a better experience. So,
man, who's a genius at that is Ben Lang. Like, he's my hero on laying things out. And I know you've helped him a lot too, but he took that to a whole nother level that I'm trying to implement now.
Oh yeah. He was a hot mess when we first started laying that out. He was having a lot of problems with it. And so he'll tell you that. And that's a big game changer. Him and I worked on that for about 6 months together. And he's taken it further than I could ever imagine. He's actually doing things better than I'm even doing with my team. And that's the greatest, it's the coolest thing to see. And your closing rate starts going up, your client experience starts going up. And so the better that you can kind of lay out that client journey and manage to that, it's really cool to see what happens. So cool. We're about out of time. I do want to ask you one question. One more question. And I think, what do you think is like the biggest takeaway, or what if somebody has to learn a skill set, right, in this market, what do you think they should be focusing on right now?
You already know the answer to this: video and social media, which you also know is one of my weakest links that I'm working on. But I know I've told you this story, and I'll share it with all our podcast friends. But like I told you, I come from a marketing and advertising background. It's one of my strengths as well. And so you have a certain mind, and I know you know this because you study it too. It's a way of thinking, marketing and advertising. I can't help it. It's just how I think. So obviously when I saw Ren and got involved with you guys, it was because I saw the beauty of how it falls into every category we need to like market ourselves and advertise. And I love the easy plug and play of it. But I was resistant to, you're like, hey, 7 posts on your story, do your social media, do this. And I've been so resistant to that. 1, I don't love watching myself on a video. 2, I worry that I'm going to bother people. I don't know, like all our insecurities, the self-talk that goes on that we have to overcome. But I went to one of your 2-day boot camps, and I was listening to all these experts talk, and I was able to just come from an observant place of just truly learning, just wanting to figure things out and do what's best for my company. And like what you don't know too is like I've got my family that's really involved in video and different things, and they've been saying stuff like this to me, and there's all these things. And of course, it like all the stars aligned on this meeting, and I went, I know, and everybody probably already knows this, but I just went, oh, you know what? This generation that's going to be buying houses, my kids who I'm old enough to have kids that are getting ready to buy houses, where are they all the time? They're on their devices all the time. And they don't they want food. They don't go to the restaurant and talk to somebody in person and get food. No, they get Grubhub. They want something, they're good on their device and they get it. Everything's on that device. And then I'm like, I'm having to limit my son's screen time all the time because he's always on YouTube learning whatever, and not all of YouTube's bad. He's learned some really powerful things.
Oh, yeah.
So all of this stuff. And then it just finally hits me like, people really do listen to influencers and social media, and they feel that connection and they feel like they're your friend. And if you're not on there, they're not going to be buying or selling with you. I'm sorry, it's just how it is. And as much as you want to tell yourself different, Isaiah, the way cell phones are working and everything, if you make like 3 or 4 calls that are sales calls, the computers are so smart, they pick up on you. I'm being tagged as a scammer now. You know what I mean? I can't get my
spam filters are so strong.
Yeah. So I can't get my phone calls through. And you just can't do business the way you used to. So you have to be putting your video out there. It's just the way it is. And even though I'm resistant to it, I'm just like, we even had a discussion today about this, a little discussion. And at the end, I was like, you know what? If I want the results, I have to do what the people who are thriving are doing. And the truth is, it's video. The people who are getting the most amount of business is because they're constantly posting on their social media and they're doing their video. And that's just the truth. That's where the marketing is. If you want to effectively market, that's what you have to do. So.
Yeah. And as you get more and more successful, the impact that video can have grows exponentially as your database grows, as your influence grows, as your SOI grows. And that's what's exciting about marketing and advertising and video and digital marketing and being in the attraction business is because you can grow exponentially. And in the process, while you're still doing your follow-up calls, you're still doing, you still stick with the fundamentals, but in the background, you're building the attraction model in the background that's moving, because you can only make so many calls and you never want to stop doing that, right, as part of your process until you get to the point where you have a team doing that with you or for you, and they're covering their costs and you're profitable. You're running a profitable team without your productivity. So that's the goal, right, is to get to that point. But in the background, we can build this model, right, that you're talking about to attract, and that you can scale to infinity. That's the exciting part, as you can get 1,000 people to watch your video. You can get 2,000 people to watch your video. You can't make 1,000 calls, right? But you can and have that same effect. And so that's what's exciting. It's scalability. It's doing things that are scalable and can give you more leverage. And that's what video marketing does. It's just because we don't see that instant gratification that it gets us. It's really hard for us to stay consistent at it, right? And that was my biggest struggle. So I'm glad you brought that up. I still struggle with it constantly. I'm always having to make sure that I stay, that I'm finding the balance between what I call direct response marketing and then branding, and to create that attraction model over time. So,
well, and it's so interesting. Just this weekend, I went to my 30-year reunion. Yes, that's how old I am now. Everybody knows.
you look great. You look great.
It's okay. I'm embracing it. I'm knocking on the door of 50. It's all good. So but I went to my 30-year reunion, and people I haven't talked to in like 10 years since the last reunion and everything. And I have never been a big social media person. I just never have. And so I've been putting these practices into place. And I went, and so many people commented on my real estate business to me. Oh, you're in real estate. It seems like you're doing really good. Oh my gosh. I can't believe how many houses you're selling. And wow, I love this house that you saw. And then I I have to admit, yesterday I got 2 calls from past classmates who were like, hey, I'm looking to buy a condo for my kid when they go to college. Can you help me out? And I was like, okay.
I guess I can make time.
I guess. So
Yeah,
it makes a
that's awesome.
difference. It really does make a difference. So
That's awesome.
and
So
I have to say, well, just really quick, one more thing. You keep talking about the shift. I met you a year ago. I felt very strongly I needed to get ready because we couldn't just keep sustaining the numbers and the way they were going. And so I had to so I found your company and I implemented it. And you can even attest to this. I haven't done it perfectly. I haven't done everything just right, but I have put effort in it. And I always have a thought that says it's about progression, not perfection. So I'm progressing. But that being said, this shift happened. Everybody's freaking out in my town, all the agents, and they're like, how are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I listed 5 houses last week.
I love it.
I have more listings than I've ever had in my life.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So that just shows you the power of what we're talking about here. And you really are implementing the sales acceleration blueprint, and you're doing it, within your own business model and what's important to you, and looking at the different phases of it. And it's so impressive to see. It's really exciting. And I think we'll end the podcast there, folks. Chrissy Young, how do people reach out to you if they want to send a referral your way, Chrissy?
Oh, thank you for asking. My email address is Chrissy Young. So it's ChrissYyoung @homerebates.com. So
Awesome.
that's the best way.
Awesome.
Or obviously you can go to Young Real Estate Team Utah on Facebook, send me a message there, and youngrealestateteam.com. It's our website as well.
Love it. Love it. And thanks for sharing your backstory. I know I got a lot out of it, as well as I thought I know you. I learned something too. So that's why I love doing these podcasts. And I drew a lot out of your story, and I know everyone listening to this is gonna as well. So thanks for taking the time here. And if you're listening to this podcast and you got a lot of value out of Chrissy's story, then share this with somebody that needs to hear this conversation. And also, we'd appreciate that if you leave any comments, any questions, or anything else you want to learn or hear, so we can always improve our process doing these podcasts for you. And then if you're not a current client, go to renfreetrial.com, and you can get a 14-day free trial of Ren 360. And it's kind of a starting point. And then what we'll do is that'll trigger a free trial to get access to a digital marketing platform to be able to build your digital footprint, and then also set up a free consultation to see if there's more customized approach for you to go to the next level, like Chrissy's done. And we appreciate you tuning into the podcast. Until next time, Isaiah Colton with another episode of Sales and Marketing Secrets, and we'll see you next time.